Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning, students. This is Dr. Muhammad Shafiq, uh, your instructor of Literary Criticism 2. And today we are going to discuss about liberal humanism. That's the second part. If you remember in the first lecture, we tried to discuss what liberal humanism means, and we tried to shed some light on its historical evolution. Today, while recapping the salient features of liberal humanism, we'll move on to the key proponents and liberal humanist reading method, strengths of liberal humanism, and also the critique of liberal humanism. So, as you know, that uh, liberal humanism is a foundational tradition in literary criticism. Liberal humanism is often called the traditional approach because of centuries it was simply the way people read and judge the literature. We look at its origins, its core, and we have looked into its beliefs, how to practice it, and also why it became the target of intense critique. We are going to see that today. Liberal humanism is to be noted that it's not the invention of a single theorist. It's a tradition that developed over the time from roughly 18th century up to mid 20th century. It was the dominant common sense way of understanding literature. The core idea is that literature expresses timeless, universal truths about human experience. Its purpose is both to delight us with its beauty and to instruct us morally. The emphasis is on the individual author, the individual reader, and the individual characters we encounter in a text. And the key figures or who shaped this tradition include Matthew Arnold, T.S. Eliot, F.R. Lewis, and romantic poets like William Wordsworth. So today we are going to look into the key proponents, two of them who are very important in this uh, literary tradition, and they are namely Matthew Arnold and F.R. Lewis. Their contribution to the liberal humanism has been quite influencing, and they have shaped liberal humanist theory into uh, modern times. They are the key proponents, and their contribution we are going to discuss it as such. Matthew Arnold, who was born in 1822 and died in 1888, he basically is one of the key proponents of liberal humanism. Matthew Arnold sees literature as a touchstone of moral and cultural values. As he quotes, the best that has been thought and said. So he sees literature as touchstone for moral and cultural values. He believed great literature promotes sweetness and light, harmony and beauty, and it elevates humanity. Basically, for Arnold, the main aim of literature is to spread sweetness and light, to basically uphold the moral principles and transform the society through literature for its moral upbringing. He sees literature as a way to promote culture, the best ideas, the moral values, and so on. He believes that the great literature civilizes and brings harmony. That's how he says that it brings sweetness and light. By sweetness, he basically means that the literature, the great literature, civilizes human beings. It civilizes, it brings harmony in a society, in a given society, and it elevates that society both morally and aesthetically. And it by bringing that harmony. For example, his essay, The Function of Criticism, emphasizes literature's role in cultural critique. The second one, the key prominent proponent of this school of thought and literary criticism is F.R. Lewis, who was born in 1895 and died in 1978. For Lewis, he basically focuses on literature's role in critiquing society. He wants to look into literature critically. He wants to look into the society critically through literature. He emphasized the closed reading and believed that great works reveal life-affirming values, distinguishing between high culture and mass culture. So his the scrutiny, the 20th century literary figure Lewis enormously influenced the literary criticism through his journal scrutiny. He, he scrutinizes the literature and he looks into it as a life-affirming values distinguishing between the different kinds of cultures. He focuses on close reading to uncover a work's inherent value. For him, in order to uncover the inherent value of any part of any piece of literature, we need to do some close reading. He also believed that literature should reveal life-affirming truths, critiquing societal norms, and he emphasizes the importance of great tradition in English literature. So if we look into both of these uh, literary figures, both link literature to moral and cultural improvement. Although Lewis was more critical of societal norms, but without societal norms, without looking into societal norms, without critically evaluating societal norms, we are unable to improve any society, both morally and culturally. Both thinkers valued literature's power to shape culture and morality. So for them, literature is very much important in order to shape society's cultural values and moral values, which is for them the key objective of literature, to bring some moral insight and cultural values to the society. The key reading method of liberal humanists are basically, I've elaborated in certain points. Before doing that, let's take an example of F.R. Lewis. He praised D.H. Lawrence's works for exploring organic human relationships and critiquing industrial society. For example, Sons and Lovers. He saw Lawrence as a part of the great tradition of English novelists addressing moral complexity. For Matthew Arnold, on the other hand, might analyze a poem of Wordsworth's Phantom Abbey for its portrayal of nature's moral influence on humanity, reflecting his idea of literature promoting sweetness in life. So both of these liberal humanists, they believe that main aim or main objective of any piece of literature is to bring some moral and cultural values. Uh, for Arnold, it is through uh, promoting sweetness and light, and for Levi's, it is basically through critiquing or critical evaluation of any society for its social and societal and moral norms. Now, the liberal humanists basically they adopt a kind of specific uh, methodology to go through the literature, and they have certain points to make. First one is close reading, focus on language, imagery, and structure and form of literature. If we look into those, both of those key figures uh, and uh, their strategy, that cannot be done. I mean, the sweetness and the light cannot be spread neither socially, neither society can be critically evaluated without close reading. So the first step of their method of looking into literature is close reading to focus on language, imagery, structure, and form. And secondly, they are of the view that we should uh, while looking into literature or any piece of literature, we should seek unity. We should show all the elements coherent into a single meaning, like language, imagery, structure, and form. They form a kind of unity, and without that, looking into that unity, we won't be able to critically evaluate our piece of literature through liberal humanist lens. And the third point they make is to analyze character. We need to, because their focus is on individual, so we need to look into the psychology and moral development and internal conflict. So uh, through close reading, seeking unity, and analysis of character, we are able to look into society critically and to evaluate its social and its cultural and moral norms. They also stress upon extracting universal truths. This is the story about the corrupting nature of the power. They are for the kind of universal truths. They believe in universality of literature, and for them it is above any particular time or any particular geographical area. It is kind of universal. And then after uh, following these four steps, we get to the conclusion, we get to another point which says that we need to judge value, complexity, moral insight, and formal beauty. So if we look into these five principles, they are basically interrelated and they cannot stand alone. Uh, that's how their principle of seeking unity comes into play. After their reading methodology, which consists upon uh, textual analysis, unpacking language, tone, symbolism, and to uncover human truths. They also focus on the character and theme of any uh, particular piece of literature, exploring how characters embody human values, moral dilemmas, and also cultural significance, seeing literature as a reflection of broader human experience, not just personal expression. So they take it universally, although their focus is on individual liberty, their way of thinking, their freedom, but they take it as uh, they take literature as a reflection of broader human experience rather than individual and not personal expressions. So for them, literature is a kind of broader human experience. They often prioritize works that show high culture or universal human insights, sometimes sidelining context of power dynamics. So they focus on the universality of universal human insights, and they do not focus on the context of power dynamics. For example, if we take Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, a liberal humanist reading might say that it focuses on Elizabeth Bennet's individual growth, balancing wit and morality. It highlights themes of personal integrity, social critique, and human relationships, and it also analyzes Austen's use of irony to comment on social norms versus individual values. So Lewis might praise the novel's life-affirming portrayal of personal growth, while Arnold might see it as promoting sweetness and light through its moral insights. Now, let's we move on to the strengths of liberal humanism. Then, what are the major strengths of liberal humanism? So, the first thing is it's accessible, intuitive entry point for all readers because it talks about liberty, freedom of thought individually, and takes it to kind of collective effort. So it is accessible for individual. It is kind of intuitive entry point for readers. Secondly, the strength of liberal humanism is to celebrate the aesthetics as Arnold would focus on the light and the sweetness and the beauty. So they focus on the aesthetic values as well. Um, Another strength of obviously liberal humanist i- uh, school of thought is its ethical engagement. It encourages thinking about moral questions. It basically encourages people in a given society to rethink, to evaluate their moral, cultural, and aesthetic values, and that basically brings ethical engagement of individuals into a society. Also, another strength of the liberal humanism is that is foundation. All later theories after liberal humanism, uh, they were basically the liberal humanist theory plays a role of foundation for all later theories which define themselves against or in reaction to it. So basically, it is so important, liberal humanist theories, that the later theories of literary criticism cannot escape it. They either have to agree with it or they totally have to reject it, but they cannot escape, they cannot ignore it. So all later theories define themselves against or reaction to it. It focuses on human experience, highlights universal themes, emotions, and moral dilemmas. It also encourages the close reading. It encourages deep engagement with texts, uncovering nuance. Culturally, cultural critique, it also provides us with different kind of cultural critique and reveal how literature comments on social norms and values. And another strength of liberal humanism would be timeless relevance. It emphasizes enduring human concerns in literature. So these are the strengths of uh, liberal humanism. Uh, After looking into strengths, we move on to critique. Obviously, any given theory in literature or philosophy it cannot escape. There are always people who would pick on it and who will critically evaluate it, and that's how knowledge progresses. So, when we look into the critique of liberal humanism, the first thing is it's ahistorical. It ignores historical conditions, power structures, ideologies, because it focuses on universal. It focuses on universality. So it doesn't take into consideration any historical conditions or any power structure or any ideology. It it deals with the literature, obviously without the context of any historical development. The second thing about the second critique of liberal humanism is universalizing presents white male European values as universal, because obviously it was brought by the white, typical white male European uh, literarians. Hence, they present it, the male white European values as the universal values. That basically means that they cease to consider the subcultural values of different other uh, value systems in the world. And for them, the universal values are only those which are presented by themselves. They are the representative of the typical universal values. Also, it is criticized because of its being apolitical. It claims objectivity while reinforcing status quo. What does it mean? Basically, it is apolitical, like it doesn't consider any political conditions or power structures or ideology on one hand, but on the other hand, it represents only white male European values as universal values, and it reinforces a kind of status quo. So there is a kind of contradiction. Obviously, one doesn't necessarily has to agree with it, but when you explain it, it looks like that liberal humanism faces these kind of critiques. The elitism, it prioritizes high culture, potentially sidelining marginalized voices. They tend to ignore the non-Western voices of, for example, African or Asian or any other Eastern value systems or any Eastern voices. For them, they just take Western values or Western voices as to be the elitist. They exclude women, people of color, and all other subcultures. They overlook power dynamics, may ignore how factors like class, race, gender, etc., how they shape literature. They just consider only on being apolitical and ahistorical. Also, it assumes universality. Universal human values might reflect dominant perspectives, and it neglects liberal humanism neglects the context, focuses on timeless themes, sometimes missing historical and contextual nuances. So these are the critiques. The concluding remarks about liberal humanism built literary studies as we know it. Its focus on aesthetics, ethics, and individual remains valuable because although despite all those criticisms, if we look into it, liberal humanists have given value to aesthetic ethics and individual upbringing of a society where we need to we need to evolve our aesthetic values, ethical values, and cultural values. Its claim to universality and objectivity have been permanently challenged, although it considers human values of moral, aesthetic, and cultural values into consideration, and it gives them value. But their claim of universality and objectivity is much more criticized by different later on different authors and different literarians. So liberal humanism offers valuable insights into literature's exploration of human experience, morality, and culture, while it emphasizes close reading and universal themes, critics highlight its limitations regarding power dynamics and context. So this was today's task, not simply accept or reject, but understand it as historical tradition with strengths and blind spots. So just mind it whenever we are studying any theory, we don't have to accept or reject it. It is basically uh, kind of tool to understand the whole scenario of literary criticism. So this was about the second part of literary criticism today, and I hope you got these points. I will share the recording of this lecture with your CRs in the group. Now, if you guys have any question or you want to discuss anything about it, you can go on. I am all ears now. Thank you. Anyone?
सर अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
Walaikum assalam.
सर जी असल में हमारा तो इस टाइम पे अभी जो है ना एक मैम की क्लास थी और एक जो है ना सर कैसर की, लेकिन हमने फिर भी सर आपका क्लास ले लिया ना। और दूसरी बात ये है सर कि यूनिवर्सिटी का कुछ कंफर्म पता नहीं चलता कि, क्योंकि जो अदर यूनिवर्सिटी है इस्लामाबाद साइड पे, ये तो ओपन है फिजिकल क्लासेस है।
जो यूनिवर्सिटी है इसका खुलना बंद होना इट्स अ पॉलिसी मैटर और इट्स बियॉन्ड द हैंड्स ऑफ द टीचर्स वी कैन नॉट डू एनीथिंग अबाउट इट एंड वी डोंट हैव एनी इंफॉर्मेशन इफ वी गेट एनी इंफॉर्मेशन वील शेयर इट विद द स्टूडेंट्स ऑल्सो मैंने पहले आप जो ग्रुप मैंने एक बनाया है लिटरेरी क्रिटिसिज्म के तीनों सेक्शंस का उसमें सब स्टूडेंट्स को मैंने ओपन इनविटेशन दी है कि उसमें ज्वाइन कर ले ताकि हम अपनी इंफॉर्मेशन उसमें शेयर कर सकें उसमें मैंने पहले सबसे पूछा था कि अगर आप लोगों की 11 बजे कोई क्लास नहीं है तो वी कैन टेक ए क्लास बिकॉज वी हैव टू कैच अप बहुत सारी चीज़ें अभी बाकी हैं तो हमने टाइम की कमी की वजह से हमें क्लासेस जो है ना वो ज़्यादा लेनी पड़ेंगी तो इस वजह से तो स्टूडेंट्स ने कहा कि सर नसीम की क्लास उनकी शायद थी लेकिन वो डिले हो गई थी तो हमने सोचा चलो गया तो मैंने तो सबसे पूछा तो बहरहाल अगर किसी को कोई इनकन्वीनियंस हो तो वो टाइम भी आप लोग वो ग्रुप में शेयर कर लिया करें तो हम टाइम को एडजस्ट कर सकते हैं ठीक है
सर नहीं नहीं, इस तरह कोई मसला नहीं। असल में हम साथ, और एक तो यहाँ पे जब बारिश होती है सर फिर तो भी नहीं है कि कौन सा क्लास है इस टाइम पे।
जी ये मैसेज आ रहे हैं कि स्लाइड हमारे साथ शेयर करें मैं पिछले लेक्चर्स की भी करूंगा वो असल में मैंने थोड़ी उसको ऑर्गेनाइज करके तो फिर सारी मैं ग्रुप में शेयर कर दूंगा आप लोग तसल्ली रखें कोई इसमें ऐसी बात नहीं है कि मैं नहीं शेयर करूंगा तो इंशाल्लाह आपको ये मटेरियल भी मिल जाएगा बस ये है कि मजबूरी है अब क्या किया जा सकता है इसी तरह क्लासेस चलती रहेंगी जब तक अ, कोई और ऑर्डर नहीं आ जाता
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Sir, there is question, please, sir.
जी जी प्लीज
Sir, can we say that this liberal humanism theory is among one of the major theories apart from the other theories, two or three structuralism or maximism theory? सर ये जितनी मार्क्सिज्म थ्योरी, ये जितनी थ्योरीज हैं इनमें से मेजर थ्योरी सर ये है, या इसका मेजर रोल उन पर कितना इम्पैक्ट वगैरह है सर?
देखिए अगर आपने लेक्चर अटेंड किया एंड में हमने यही बात डिस्कस की कि ऑल्दो इसकी स्ट्रेंथ्स भी बहुत सारी हैं इसके ऊपर क्रिटिसिज्म भी बहुत सारा है लेकिन हम किसी भी थ्योरी की वैल्यू से इनकार नहीं कर सकते और ख़ासकर जो लिबरल ह्यूमनिज्म थ्योरी है ये बुनियादी तौर पे इट प्लेस इट 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 plays the role of foundation. اس کے بعد آنے والی جتنی بھی تھیوریز ہیں they either have to agree with it or they have to disagree with it. They cannot escape it. So اس تناظر میں اگر دیکھا جائے تو لبرل ہیومنزم جو ہے وہ بہت ایک امپورٹنٹ تھیوری ہے. اور میں نے جیسے کہ میں نے کہا کہ ہمارا یہ کام نہیں ہے کہ اس کو ہم ایکسیپٹ کریں یا اس کو ہم ریجیکٹ کریں. دس از دا وے ہاؤ ٹو لک ان ٹو دس لٹری کرٹیسزم کہ کس طرح ایوالو ہوا, کس طرح مختلف تھیوریز ڈیولپ ہوئیں. تو ہمیں اس سے یہ مدد ملے گی کہ ہم لٹری کرٹیسزم کو بہتر طریقے سے سمجھ سکیں گے کہ لبرل ہیومنسٹ نے کیا کیا, پھر جو اسٹرکچرلسٹ ہیں انہوں نے کیا کیا, مارکسسٹ نے کیا کیا, پوسٹ اسٹرکچرلسٹ نے کیا کیا, پوسٹ ماڈرنسٹ نے کیا کیا. تو اس طرح ہم بہتر پوزیشن میں ہوں گے کہ ہم اس لٹری کرٹیسزم کو سمجھ سکیں. آئی ہوپ
سر
آئی
ہم لوگ
آنسر
یہ
دی کوسچن. جی جی
یس سر سر ہم لوگ یہ کہہ سکتے ہیں کہ اٹ از دا پرائمری تھیوری فار ادر تھیوریز.
دیکھیں پرائمری تو ہم ایسے نہیں کہہ سکتے کیونکہ آبویسلی ایوری پرسن ہیز ہز اون اوپینین. ہاں ہم اس کو یہ کہہ سکتے ہیں کہ اٹس اے کائنڈ آف فاؤنڈیشنل تھیوری, کیونکہ اس کے بعد جتنی تھیوریز ہیں وہ ظاہر ہے اسی سے انسپائرڈ ہوئیں یا اسی کے اگینسٹ انہوں نے اسی کو کرٹیسائز کر کے ایک نئی تھیوری ڈیولپ کی ہے. جس طرح یونیورسلٹی کی
یس سر.
بات ہم کرتے ہیں, فار ایگزامپل جس طرح لبرل ہیومنسٹ جو ہے نا ایک یونیورسل اس کی بات کرتے ہیں اور یہ سب کلچرز کو جو ہے نا اگنور کرتے ہیں. پوسٹ ماڈرنزم جو ہے جو ہم بعد میں جا کے پڑھیں گے, اس کا مین کنسرن ہی یہ ہے کہ آپ انڈیویجول کلچرز کو جو ہے نا وہ آپ یو کین ناٹ اگنور اٹ. یہ تو پاور اسٹرگل ہے ان کے نزدیک. فوکو ایٹسٹرا نے بعد میں پھر اس چیز کو بہت زیادہ وہ کیا کہ جس طرح انہوں نے کرٹیک میں آپ نے دیکھا نا کہ یہ ایک خاص قسم کی آئیڈیالوجی یونیورسل, یہ ویلیو سسٹم صرف اپنے وائل وائٹ میل ویسٹرن ویلیو سسٹم کو سمجھتے ہیں اینڈ دے ٹینڈ ٹو اگنور ادر تھنگ. تو
یس سر.
یونیورسلٹی کی بات تو کرتے ہیں لیکن وہ انڈیویجولی جو سب کلچرز ہیں اس کو اگنور کرتے ہیں. تو اس کانٹیکس میں دیکھا جائے تو اس کی امپورٹینس بہت زیادہ ہے آبویسلی. جو بات انہوں نے کی تو اسی کے اگینسٹ جس طرح پلیٹو نے جو کچھ کہا تو اس کو پھر ریجیکٹ کرنے یا اس کو ریوائو کرنا یا اس کو پھر کریٹیکلی ایویلویٹ کرنے میں ایرسٹوٹل نے جو ہے نا بہت کنٹریبیوشن کی. لیکن یہ بھولنا یہ ہمیں نہیں بھولنا چاہیے کہ اس کو جو پلیٹ فارم فراہم کیا تھا وہ پلیٹو نے کیا تھا. اسی طرح جو بعد میں لٹری کرٹیسزم کی تھیوریز ہیں نا ان کو جو پلیٹ فارم یا جو فاؤنڈیشن فراہم کر رہی ہے وہ لبرل ہیومنسٹ تھیوری ہے. کسی اور کا کوئی سوال ہو تو.
سر جی ہمیں کائنڈلی یہ بتا دیں کہ مڈ تک کتنا کورس انکلوڈ ہوگا، کیونکہ اگر اگلے ہفتے سے مڈ پیپر ہو گئے تو پھر بندہ پہلے سے تیاری کر لیتا ہے، تو کتنا کورس اس میں انکلوڈ ہوگا سر جی؟
دیکھیں پہلے تو ہماری کوشش یہ ہے نا کہ جو کلاسیں مس ہوئی ہیں ہم سے ڈیو ٹو اینی
جی
ریزن اس کو ہم ٹرائی ٹو
جی
کیچ اپ کریں نا. اس کے علاوہ دوسری
جی
بات یہ ہے کہ جو میٹ کا ایگزام ہوتا ہے نا یہ ضروری نہیں ہے, اس کا کوئی مطلب ایسا نہیں ہے کہ فکس ہم نے اسی وقت لینا ہے. اٹ ڈپینڈس اپان دی ٹیچر اینڈ دی اسٹوڈنٹس. تو ہم میوچولی ضروری نہیں ہے کہ ہم نیکسٹ ویک ہی جو ہے نا وہ مڈ ٹرم کا ایگزام لے لیں. ہم اس کے بعد بھی لے سکتے ہیں, کسی بھی وقت لے سکتے ہیں میوچل ایگریمنٹ. جب ہم دیکھیں کہ اب ہم نے کورس اتنا کور کر لیا ہے کہ ہم اس میں مڈ کا ایگزام لے سکتے ہیں تو پھر میں آپ کو کمیونیکیٹ کر دوں گا, ہم مڈ کا ایگزام لے لیں گے, وہ کوئی بڑا ایشو نہیں ہے.
صحیح ہے سر، تھینک
ٹھیک
یو
ہے,
سر.
تھینک یو سو
ٹھیک ہے
مچ.
سر، تھینک یو. اللہ حافظ سر.
اوکے جی, اللہ حافظ.